Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 430.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you're here today because we are going to talk about something that I think, well, honestly, we don't talk about enough. And I also know that a number of you are dealing with these things because I'm dealing with these things. In fact, every business on the planet is dealing with these things. And if you have a desire to increase your cash flow, to make it better, to build it higher, to make it stronger, to hire more people, to do the things that your business set out to do, I have a feeling that today's episode is going to begin another step. It's going to give you another notch in that belt. It's going to give you one more thing to remind yourself, yes, that you need to do, but more importantly, you'll understand why. I have with me today an individual who would say he comes from very little background, meaning no pedigree. He would say he's first generations. And what's really interesting is that I know many of you are out there thinking about the fact that, man, I'm trying to do this entrepreneur thing, but it feels like I can't relate to the people that I used to. I can't hang out with them, my friends, my family. Man, I feel like they're holding me back. I think today's guest would say you're probably right. And he's been through that painful process. And more importantly, not only is he going to share that process with you and I today, he's also going to enlighten us when it comes to the world of marketing, because what it comes down to is a lot of you, myself included, we can always learn more about how to make our message spread further, because whether you realize it or not, even when you're focused on real estate, it's still a business and people still need to know that you, well, are in business. I have with me today none other than Erik Stark. He's an expert real estate entrepreneur, educator, marketer. He calls himself an Ubercool dad and dedicated husband of 13 plus years. Now, here's some of the things to think about. Did his first deal age 24. Purchased over 400 properties. The part that probably impresses me the most, though, is the fact that he's invested over $150,000 into his education, because, you know, there's just sometimes where you gotta pony up to understand what it is that you want to go out there and do. I'm hoping that today you are ready to take some notes, that you're ready to listen, and you're ready to learn to Erik Stark. Erik, you there?
Yes, sir. How are you doing today?
So far, so good. Just doing what we do when it comes to building cash flow and business and dealing with all of those things, which I'm certain you know a ton about. But before we get too far into it, I got to ask you the same question I tend to ask everybody the first time that they're here. You ready?
Yes.
All right. All right.
I hope so.
I guess we're about to find out. Here we go. I tend to think of today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes. You know, Batman, Robin, Thor, Wonder Woman, what have you. And because I think entrepreneurs and superheroes have a ton of things in common. For example, there are times as an entrepreneur, we can envision ourselves as flying around the city, saving our customers, maybe even wearing a cape and tights, you know, saving the day with our products and services. But also, like a superhero, an entrepreneur has a beginning. If you think about Peter Parker, for example, also known as Spider-Man, there was a time where he was just a kid going to school, taking some photos for the newspaper. Then one day he gets bit by this spider, which he then discovers, oh my gosh, I have this ability and I have to choose whether to use it for good or for evil. So my question to you, Erik, is as follows. Before, you know, being able to acquire $1 million worth of real estate by age 30, before turning your flipping hobby into a business, before, you know, all the education and stuff that you've taken for yourself and also have taught to others, before all of those things that we currently know you for, what we want to know is, who is Erik Stark?
It's very tough to explain, and I've always been somebody that said, if you want to really know who I am, you should observe me, not listen to a word I say. I'm never consistent in anything that I do. But I'm a very family-driven, very humble type of person. Not generally an entrepreneurial minded person, even though when I look at my backgrounds of, flipping pedal bikes and dirt bikes and cars, I have always had kind of a knack for just being independent in finding a way to make money. But I'm definitely no genius. I just put sheer effort and sick work ethic to just about anything that I really want to accomplish. And I pick those battles wisely. And thankfully, throughout the process, we figured out a couple things that have worked and rewarded us accordingly for it.
Indeed, indeed. Now, you said something I just want to make sure I heard correctly. Did you say flipping pedal bikes?
Yes. Yeah. So when I was 11 years old, I pretty much took over the family shed and threw all the lawnmowers and stuff like that out. And I became the kid in the neighborhood that could pretty much fix everybody's bike. So I would always have these parts around and build these spare bikes, and I would literally sell them to the other kids at my school, or my friends would give me their old crappy bikes that were sitting there. And, I didn't really know what they were worth, but I'm like, this is cool. I love ripping apart bikes, and I just stuck $25 in my pocket from free parts. That's cool.
Okay. So, and then you graduated from pedal bikes to dirt bikes. Did the same thing?
Correct. Yes.
And then eventually to cars.
Correct.
That's unique. I've heard of paper routes, selling cookies, all kinds of interesting things door to door. You are the first bike flipper. You should write.
Big ticket items. Newspapers weren't enough.
Oh my goodness. I got it. Okay. I get it. So when it comes down to it, take us on this journey. How do you go from flipping pedal bikes to real estate? There's a journey there. I'm guessing you didn't wake up one day and just go, hey, if I can flip a bike, I can flip a house. Or did you?
It didn't go the transition from the bike to the real estate, but I've always been a very active person. I was never, if I can be honest with you, I was never the kid that was really approved much in school. So the football, the basketball, the baseball, I was an outsider. I was an outcast. I wasn't really accepted. So I never really felt that I would play a part in the whole jock role at the school. So my spare time was dedicated to, racing BMX and doing freestyle and riding half pipes. And before long, I got good at, servicing my own bikes. And, I entered my first ATV race when I was 3 years old and won my trophy. So it's been a part of my life since I was a very, very young child. And before long, I learned to fix my own stuff and learned to fix other people's stuff. And, again, I've always had a very, very active part of who I am. And I remember the day that I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but after high school, my first day out of high school, I graduated with such honors that I actually didn't even end up going to my last day because of the way that I had set up my last couple weeks at school. I went to take my real estate license the day that I got out of school, and the lady ended up calling me back 48 hours later saying nobody else signed up for the class, so therefore we're going to cancel. And I just had this moment come over me like, oh, real estate's not for me. I'm never going to get into it. So I entered the automotive world and got myself involved into the auto detailing business. And within a couple months, I quickly realized that my passion is sales and negotiation, or one of my strengths, maybe not my passion, but my strengths. So what I began to do is go to a lot of these dealers that we were servicing, and we would buy any access inventory that they had, bring them back to the shop, clean them up, and start flipping them. And, I had a couple of years of doing that, and it was great. I was making tons of money. I'm always driving different cars. The detail shop was booming. And one day I just happened to meet back up with a high school buddy of mine, and he came up to the shop one day, and, we were talking about business, and I'm talking to him about write-offs and, all these, we didn't even know what the word entrepreneur meant. He was doing mortgages. I was flipping cars, managing a detail shop. And he's like, why don't we do real estate? So we got our realtor's license, quickly discovered that we were some of the worst real estate agents ever, and fell in love with the investing side of it. And our first year in business, first 8 months in business, we did 35 deals, did just under $250,000 in profit. And I look back and said, man, all that stuff that I learned when I was a kid is finally starting to reap some hefty rewards, because we had never seen money like that before in our little 19-year-old lives.
No doubt. So you heard it here first. If you want to do real estate, start with pedal bikes. Got it. Now, so what, the transition though, because I can remember that first, time that I remember it very, very clearly when I got 20 grand in 1 week. I was like, I didn't know that was possible.
Right.
This is neat. What else is possible? Because no one, I didn't grow up, with people saying numbers like that and talking about things like that. So I guess my question to you is, what was that realization like when you're like, hold on, I got all this. Don't they know that all I did was, that wasn't that hard, for you, it probably didn't feel that hard. You're just like, wow, this is amazing. What was that like?
I talk about that quite a bit on a lot of podcasts and blog posts, but I still remember the day, my business partner and I were doing any and everything we could to try to, get this stuff right. And we had went to the local RIA president, who actually he's my brother. And I never got along with my brother at all, but he was doing real estate before me, and he kind of took me under his wing. And I use the word dictator more than I want to use the word mentor, because that's just who my brother is. I love him, but we don't sync when it comes to business. I love him. I love you, Nathan, but we just don't sync when it comes to business.
Just in case he's listening.
And I remember the day that I had brought a lead back to our office that I was pretty confident I could bring down on my own. And when he seen that I had the confidence to go out there and do this without anybody else behind me, I kind of felt as if he was putting his thumb on me and didn't want me to grow past what he was trying to hold me to. So I literally remember the day sitting at the closing table, and I had got the deal under contract. I'm the one who put up the earnest money. I'm the one that found the buyer. And just by having my brother's guidance, I had to give him 50% of my deal. And it was guidance. There was no mentorship there. There was no work there. And I say all that just so I can get to the point of, I will never forget sitting at the closing table, looking at my profit check, knowing I had to give $5,700 of it away. And I was so glad for that opportunity, because what I just learned, I had to flip several cars to make that kind of money. It took me months to make those kind of paydays. And I just remember, I had this little bit of bitterness inside of me about, man, I got to give this away. What did they really do? But the big picture was, I just learned a new skill that I can take anywhere that I choose to go in life and duplicate this process. And it's, when you talk about the word breakthrough, that was a huge, mega monumental breakthrough in my life. I still remember it like it was a couple days ago.
Yeah, totally. But you said one of my most favorite words, though, is that, or phrases, is that you learned a new skill, and you talk about how portable it is and how valuable it is and how you can take that with you wherever you go. And I know that in today's marketplace, that all of the entrepreneurs, those listening, etc., are dealing with the fact that they may feel like they're lacking some skills. In fact, often we get allured by techniques in the marketplace for things as simple as, telling people that we're in business. And one of the things that I've seen a number of times is that for those in the real estate world, when they go down this investing path, they forget that you still have to tell people that you're in business. There is a marketing process to letting people know who you are, what you do, the benefits that you can provide. I was curious, could you share with us maybe some thoughts that you've had recently about the difference, say, between following principles versus, we'll call it, the technique of the day?
Oh, man. Ralph Waldo Emerson's quote about, the man who chooses his own principles can gladly choose his own methods throughout life. It's one of the most powerful, hard-hitting quotes because there's so much shiny object syndrome going out there. And I'm a guy, if I find a book from the 1930s, 40s, or 50s, like, I'm all over, because those principles just never die down, as to where now everything is all about quick, easy, simple, glamorous. And that's not what success in entrepreneurship generally requires. So I'm a guy that's always looking to build an algorithm based on a certain set of principles that have gotten us a certain result. Now, I'm not ignorant enough to think, okay, since it worked once, if it doesn't work exactly this way, then we just don't do it anymore. But we're very, very clear on what our objective is, but we're very, very flexible on how we get there. So if we have a very systematic approach on how to market and get X number of responses, but it doesn't get us the result this time, that doesn't mean we just quit and say, well, this doesn't work. We have to continue to test. We have to continue to tweak. We have to look at the feedback, continue the engagement, and then figure out how we can always be improving that process. And I think if your baseline is starting at the principles that really get you results, you are going to get to the finish line not only with a lot more happiness and sanity, but with a little bit more money in your pocket, because the methods that are getting thrown all over today, it's very sad to see people, not kind of get taken for a whirlwind and not get the result that they think they're going to get. But principles are a must-have.
But Eric, the guy said that I could start my business in a weekend and get a deal in 15 days.
I don't even want to get started, Jermaine. I'm sorry, man. I feel so bad for those people, and it bothers me because they have big marketing budgets, and they can, guys like you and I that really know what it takes, and to get in the trenches, we know that's not reality.
Indeed. While and the unfortunate part is there can be some truth to some of those things sometimes, because the person who did the deal in 7 or 15 days probably had tons of business experience. There were just so many other things that kind of happened in that sense. But I guess really when it comes down to it, if I was to put you on the spot and say, all right, Eric, I'm a brand new entrepreneur. I am ready to get this thing started, and I want to build my real estate business. I want to build my cash flow. What are the top 3 principles I need to be following so that no matter what happens to me over the next few years or months or what have you, that I can be sure to end up at that destination, as you said, with less frustration and hopefully more money? What would you say those top 3 principles are?
I would tell you those top 3 principles would be to stop chasing opportunity and work a strategy, focus on lead generation, and don't abandon your vision to quickly go run over to somebody else's, dream or goal or vision, whatever it is. Stay true to your own vision. So work a strategy, stop chasing opportunity, focus on lead generation, and don't abandon your vision for anything, regardless of how sexy and glamorous it looks.
Have we been talking to the same people? Anyway, okay. So what I really want to do is I want you to expound upon them, because I'm very excited to hear. I think I know what you mean when you say work a strategy, but I want to hear it in your words.
Yeah. So when we first started off in real estate, we were in a heavy foreclosure market. This is back in 2008. Bank-owned properties are all over the map. And Steve and I were just very fast to take advantage and capitalize on all the foreclosures and put relationships in place with the top brokers. And before long, we noticed that everybody's talking about these things called short sales. Like, short sales are the way to go. It's the way to buy better discounted properties.
Long purchase.
Yeah. So, I seen a webinar one day before webinars were even popular about somebody making, $75,000. And, here we're making, 15 to 25,000 on wholesales. We were making really good wholesale fees, but I'm like, man, this guy's making 75,000 on short sales. I'm like, we got to go check this out. And, we went through the ringer a couple of times. We wasted some money, trying to do X product and try to figure this out. And what we quickly realized is that we were working a strategy that was working. Why would we abandon something because this looks sexier or more glamorous? And what we eventually became to realize, well, we could do a webinar too, talking about the one deal that we did that made us 50 grand, even though the most of our base hits are between, 15, 20, 25. So what I mean by that is we really looked at what our strengths were and some of the systems and processes we could put in place. And like, I'm a lifestyle driven person. So the whole short sale thing of taking 9 months to get my offer accepted and then get shopped, like it wasn't fast enough for me. So I knew it would never be a strategy that Erik would work day in and day out. But we had a really strong presence in the foreclosure market. And by chance, it happened by total accident that one day we had a lady call off of one of our bandit signs. And she had a probate situation where her brothers had not spoken literally 6 years. So I didn't even know what a probate was. We're buying foreclosures at half of what everything else was for sale for. Why do I even want to deal with a private seller? But at the end of that deal, when I seen two brothers shake hands and the sister crying because the family was reunited, it really inspired something in me to say, if I can have more closings like this where I'm reuniting people and people are being happy, that was the webinar moment, oh, everything's great, this is beautiful. And then my next call was you ambulance chaser, don't ever mail me again. So, but I really became passionate about the probate process and helping people and giving them a little bit of guidance. And there's been times when that's all we did was guide them through the process and then just refer them to my assistant who's a realtor to list the property versus us buying it, selling it, and making money. It really felt good to be able to do that. So it was a strategy that became very, very important for me to do. So, along the line, there's a million different ways to make money in real estate, but when they align with your strengths and you are all for those principles and what that desired outcome you can be or can be, it really, the money becomes a bonus in a way. And we had a proven algorithm. We knew how we could service probates. We knew how to do REOs. So it really became a part of our unique process to kind of abandon everything else and just focus on the things that we love to do. And we put a little bit of a system behind to, get systematic, repeatable results, when we needed them.
What I love is that what really mattered to you was meeting the needs, because that's really important. It's really important. But now I want to hear what you mean when you say focus on lead generation. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and I'm glad that you are enjoying what you are hearing thus far. But here's one of the things that's really important. One of the most important things that you can do is get started. One of the things that I've said before, and I say again, once you get started, stay started. But more importantly, there can be lots of roadblocks to getting started. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove one of those roadblocks for you and make it a little bit easier. Because the thing that I don't want to stop you is thinking, do I need a local number? How about a long distance number? Or should it be 800? How on earth am I going to make that happen so that people can contact me as I'm out there building my business, making my cash flow grow? But most importantly, understanding that it doesn't have to be difficult. Many of you may know, but if you don't, there's a company out there by the name of Grasshopper. And what I want you to do is I want you to go over to trygrasshopper.com/cashflow diary. Grasshopper is the entrepreneur's phone system. It works like a traditional phone system, but requires no hardware to purchase, no software to install. It's just a number that flat works. So if you are out there building that distributed workforce across many different locations, it's a way for you to still go out there and make your number be unified, simple, easy to use, something we've been using for quite some time. So again, go over to trygrasshopper.com/cashflow diary. Now, let's get back to the rest of the story.
Yeah, so since I've been in real estate for so long, I look at real estate so different than many other people. And the reason is because I've been very blessed to have a business partner that handles kind of the whole back office operation. So what I mean by that is my roles in our business are to make sure that the deals are coming in and the money's there to maximize those deals. And then I have a business partner who loves property management. He loves rehabbing. He loves development. He loves rentals. And those are things that I don't like at all. So my passion has always been get these deals cut. Like I'm a lifestyle driven person. You hear me say that over and over again. I have, a wife and a son. I don't want to spend my life managing contractors. I don't want to deal with tenants and property management. I want to focus on, it's like a rodeo race. The gate flies open, the cow goes out, the bull goes out. I'm right behind it, lasso it up, tie the thing down, hand it off to my partner, and he takes it from there. So I look at real estate as more of like it's kind of like a conveyor belt to me, because once I get it on that belt, I really don't have much involvement after that point because I have a team that handles it. And I know a lot of people aren't in a position to do that. They are the everything in their business. But for me, when I knew that I had a team that could really execute and actually do the rehabs and the management and get those assets up to par faster than I could keep bringing good deals to the table, it became a personal goal of mine to get us to the next level of lead generation. And I guess what I mean by that is when, the foreclosures dried up and, people were kind of left wondering what's going to happen in this market. We were one of the very, very first people in our area to take advantage of direct mail. And we've always been ahead of the curve. And we noticed immediately when the market started to get saturated because we were creating swipe files. Every time I would buy a house from a seller, I would ask them for the mailers from everybody else who sent them, an offer to buy their property, whether it was a realtor, whatever the case may be. So now we're armed with this information, and it really allowed us to sit down and forecast the future, saying, the mailers are picking up. The aggressiveness is getting more intense. We went away from what we call badgering marketing more towards the educational style. So I remember I had an appointment with a probate lady one time, and she handed me all 14 mailers from everybody else. We signed the deal that day. I went home, looked at all the mailers, and I'm like, wow, even though she chose us because our letter was better, we mailed more consistently, we were more sincere, we're still the luck of the draw when it comes to being picked out of these 15 other people. So one thing that nobody was doing was educating their target market. Everybody was saying, look at me, we're better, we buy more houses, I sell for top dollar, we can get you more money. That was the whole unique selling proposition of what everybody was talking about. And even though our letter may have been a little better, a little more sincere, got better responses, it was still a luck of the draw. So we changed it over to where we began offering a pre-recorded message, a free report, a free book, a consultation with an attorney to help you walk you through that process. And it's something that nobody else was doing. And most people just generally don't follow those kind of rules when it comes to lead generation. They're like, hey, this is direct response. We send a postcard, they call in, we lock up the deal, we close. We had to take it to the next level, or else I don't think we would still be doing business at the level we're doing today, because it's so fierce and competitive. And I mean, if I can be honest with myself, I don't know if you feel this way or anybody else does, but many sellers don't really need investors in today's market. They can put a for sale sign in an ad on Craigslist and have every single investor beating a path to their door. They don't need us to sell. But by us taking a different approach and educating those people versus badgering them, I think it's really helped us get to where our business is operating today. And we just have a different value point in the marketplace. Different position.
One of the key points that Cashflow Diary serves is, and I've always told people, is you educate to dominate. Period. And if you do that, you do put yourself in a very unique position. And yes, you don't have lead poverty consciousness anymore, because it all goes away. Now, when you say don't abandon your vision, expound upon that for us a little bit, because I know there's times where, and if we're all honest with each other. There are times where you go, man, what have I gotten myself into? So I would love to hear what you mean by not abandoning your vision.
Yeah, I certainly have those thoughts too for the people that are listening. I don't have everything, figured out to a T and it's in stone and this is the way it is. I still have thoughts of, oh my gosh, what in the world are we doing at times? And that's exactly what I mean is when times get tough, the only thing that's really ever worked for me is in order to have a what or a how, it has to be followed by it needs to be led, not followed by a really strong why. So when we're facing moments of adversity and I'm like, the leads aren't coming in the same, oh my gosh, this deal is we're never going to get out of this thing. What the heck did we create for ourselves? It's at those moments that you really have to take inventory and understand why you are going to pursue this, why you are going to remain on the cutting edge and get past this one point. Because I'm a very firm believer that, and I think this is something that I learned from my grandmother, who was, one of my real estate mentors in my life, is she always used to say something to me, and it's that people are so quick to replace, not repair. And we see that so much, especially in business today, where, Amazon doesn't work because it's way too much work to try to make money. So we're going to go do Forex. And then Forex is way too much work. So we're going to go they look at it as kind of like a business opportunity. But when you're staying true to your vision and you're letting your why lead you down the path to greatness, it allows you to look at it and say, do I really think that it's going to be any better with no road bumps over there? Because that's the image that we get. The front end of the webinar just makes it seem like everybody has Ferraris and Bentleys, lives on the ocean, and just lives this glamorous lifestyle. They don't see people in the trenches pulling their hair out. Money doesn't come at the last second. Closing's blowing up, at the closing table. But when you know your why and it's at your core, and your mentality is that I'm going to stick this through, it's all around a better cause, because not only do you grow stronger, but your business, it graduates. You get, Jermaine 2.0. Jermaine, every time you break through, it's Jermaine 3.0. If not, you're just like, okay, well, I'm going to drop this and stay at Jermaine 1.0 the rest of my life. There's no growth, no profit.
What's amazing is just how similar I think our experiences have been, and I think for anyone that's listened to the show for any length of time, they've heard every entrepreneur say these things in so many different ways, but it's so true, because I've often said you will never out earn your personal growth. And it's
ouch,
true.
Man.
Well, hey,
come on now.
you won't. And anytime you're feeling that stuck, yes, you've got to look at that vision to remind yourself what you're doing. But typically the issue is you need the 2.0, the upgraded version of yourself, and that's really what it comes down to in so many ways. And the only thing that I have found that pushes me through those moments is, hey, I gotta get back to the vision and look at that. I mean, and I think all of us to some degree, I think for some, some of you listening, that first vision could simply be 10,000 a month or 100 grand in revenue a year. And then for others of you, you want to hit that 500,000 mark, $1 million mark, or 2 million mark or more. And here's what I know: you're going to experience that at each one of those plateaus. So my question to you, Erik, is what is it that's in your vision that helps you to push through those moments?
I'm a growth junkie. So like my whole life is dedicated, and I know this sounds so adverse to most people, but like I run towards the pain. And I don't do that to like be the guy that wants the most credit. I do it because I know that there is no growth without trials. You're not going to get to the next level by not expanding yourself. So I look at it in a totally different mentality as, most people. And I've just learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because to me, the greatest risk, there's risk whether you stay or go. If you want to quit being an entrepreneur and go back and get a day job, to me, that's the biggest risk ever, because those people are being squeezed out of existence faster than the media ever reports. So there's risk regardless of which way you decide, whether you decide to go or whether you decide to stay. And when I look back at our breakthroughs, you know, I think so many people today, they build this premise around this one book, this one course, this one event is going to change everything. And while it may change everything, it's not going to change everything. When I look back at what got us to where we are today, it was very small, incremental breakthroughs, one at a time, not these big, huge explosions that were just, you know, they were aha moments, but it wasn't just something that just like it exploded and we went from doing, you know, 10,000 a month to 500,000 a month. And now everything is glamorous and beautiful. And
What? That didn't happen for you either?
it didn't. It didn't. I thought it would. The webinar said that, but it didn't happen that way for me. I guess I'm one of the unfortunate ones.
Dude, I've been sitting here thinking I was the only one that didn't happen to. No. That's so funny.
I run towards the pain, man, because that's where growth happens.
Yeah, right. And the interesting thing is that I think we all have this thought process in our head that there's a destination that when I finally reach this plateau XYZ, it's, you know, that it's going to be easy street. So I then therefore have to ask you, Erik, have you found easy street yet?
I have not. I don't even like if I would. Jermaine, I'm not kidding. If I seen Easy Street, I would ride right past it. You wouldn't even fool me with that stuff, man. Because there's nothing easy, and I'm aware of it.
Yes.
If you want easy, go work at McDonald's.
I would.
That's not even.
I don't. I was like, I don't think that's easy either. So there is no there that just doesn't exist. So let me ask you this question: when those that are listening and have listened this far, they probably want to find out more, understand more about what you've got going on, maybe even get a head start on their real estate business, understanding some of the principles that you've got out there for everybody to share. What's going to be the best way for them to track you down?
I have a podcast site where we give away quite a bit of information just like you do, and that is realestatewhileyoudrive.com. And then they can also go to my personal blog page, which is therealeриkstark.com. But most importantly, like, I'm real, I'm human, I interact with people, I am all about the engagement. You can find me online, either at Facebook or Instagram. Just look up the Erik Stark, and I'm available, man. I'm here to engage and help everybody any way that I possibly can.
Awesome. Excellent. Now, as we wind down here, I've got a final question for you because I'm interested in hearing what your answer is going to be. Let's pretend for a moment that someone listening, they're on the edge. They're on what I would call the precipice of decision. They are thinking, you know what? I'm going to do this entrepreneur thing. I'm going to get that real estate business started. I'm going to build my cash flow. I'm going to make this happen, Erik. Let's even go so far as to say they're standing in front of the superhero outfit store, ready to pick out their cape and tights, and they're going to go make this thing go down. But you and I both know something very true. Anytime we come to those moments of decisions, there's a constant companion with each one of us. And for many of us, it takes the form of a voice that reminds us what we can't do, how it didn't work last time, and who are you to think that you could possibly. And for some people, they're even related to that voice. So my question to you is as follows. Let's pretend that this person is actually going to do what you suggest. They're going to follow through, Erik, this time. Now, they're going to do exactly what you suggest in the next 24 to 48 hours. What would you suggest that they do?
I would say first and foremost is you have to find something bigger than yourself, also known as your why, that is going to help you keep it together when those voices start talking. If you do not break that why down to its core, I don't mean just like surface level. Keep asking yourself, why do you want to provide for your family? Why do you have to really get the why at your core. So when you really start to get torn and tugged at, it's non-negotiable. It's something that you're not going to separate from. And then I would tell many people that are starting out to get in the streets and learn real estate from a street level. And the reason I say that is because the majority of people that I speak to don't have huge marketing budgets. They don't really know what direction to go. But if you can pick one area close to home that has good activity, that you can get into that neighborhood and just start gathering 1,000 addresses of either distressed or beautiful properties and start mailing those people, that has been our best source of people that are most likely to sell their properties when we are at a street level having conversations with neighbors, dog walkers, gardeners, mailmen, trash guys, lawn guys, the neighbor to a distressed property. Know your why to the core, get in the streets, find 1,000 addresses, and have as many conversations with buyers, sellers, and lenders of real estate as you can.
I love it. I definitely appreciate the the genuineness that comes through. I thank you for just taking the hits, the lumps, the beats, and more importantly, being willing to share your knowledge, your wisdom, your insight here with us today at the Cashflow Diary.
Thank you, man. I give you all the credit. I appreciate you. You've done a lot for me as well.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. Well, what does that mean today? That means the real ErikStark.com. It means go gather some addresses. It means if you've been listening this entire time, hopefully you've been out walking your neighborhood and maybe you're standing in front of a house right now or you see a for sale sign. You know what that means? Call it. When? Now. Because you only have now o'clock to deal with, and what's most important is that you go out there and do something about it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun talking to you today. I do look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.